You been thinking about the old days?
I changed
To a robbery that happened yesterday at a law firm.
Get down! Cover the boy! There's tombs over there.
That's NOPD, we gotta go!
Okay, look. Wait, you changed the rule. No. I saved your boy. Did you remember?
Let it go, man. Cops are almost here.
We don't stop.
Back, please. Okay.
That was even grosser.
Pretty sure Dad figured out the money.
I saw him sneaking away.
Horse and Grayan reconnected in the previous Parish episode, with Horse asking Grayan to work for the Tongai family. Those who knew Grayan well thought highly of him. He was an honest man. Horse was determined to change Grayan's opinion, and he wanted others like Grayan around him. Grayan was likewise going through a very trying time. He was considering selling his property and moving to a more inexpensive area because his garage wasn't turning a profit and things had become so terrible. Grayan recognized that this was the most sensible course of action, even if he didn't want to, because the house had many special memories for him. So let's review Parish's third episode to see if Grayan was successful in saving Horse's life. In the previous Parish episode, we witnessed a couple armed guys behind Horse's vehicle before they abruptly opened fire on him. Luke, Horse's kid, and Grayan were able to escape together. After making sure Luke was secure, Grayan returned to assist Horse. The whole affair revealed much about the character of Grayan. Grayan had no desire to work for Horse, but he returned to assist Colin only because he needed to pay off his obligation. Horse came to the realization that he required someone such as Grayan in his vicinity. Horse spoke with Grayan one-on-one after Colin's employment ended and attempted to persuade him to work for him. It cannot be disputed that Grayan was in a bind and that, for a split second, he considered doing business with Horse, knowing that this man would take care of all his financial issues.
You know, I learned. Close my eyes.
We used to pray together every night.
Be thy name. Was who trespass against us. And the glory. I see.
Whatever. Give me your hand.
You and Gray.
Drag his ass all over every street in the town.
No, I never thought he was bad.
What? History.
So after the shooting event, Grayan demonstrated his usefulness once more, and I think Horse would make him a permanent part of his group. I think this would be a bad idea because Zenzo, Horse's brother, didn't enjoy the attention that Grayan received. Even when Horse requested Grayan to take him to his goal, Zenzo still felt quite uneasy. Zenzo was an unreasonable man who occasionally got Horse into problems. We saw that he killed the lawyer in the previous Parish episode, even though the only goal was to frighten him into giving over all the information. Zenzo and Shamiso became concerned when Horse vanished. Shamiso arrived at Lusto's residence because she had cause to suspect that he was involved in her brother's disappearance. Lusto verified that Horse had been shot by Anton's men. Horse's greatest adversary was Anton. In fact, Grayan used to work for him. Luckily, Anton's men had to retreat and flee as the NOPD helicopter began to hover over them. Grayan sprang in Horse's direction and lifted him. Horse had lost a lot of blood when a gunshot went through his body. Grayan realized he would need to take him to a reliable person. At one time in his life, Grayan was quite close to Anne, and he knew that she would not refuse his requests for assistance. Grayan, Luke, and Horse arrived at Anne's apartment, and after a brief moment of hesitation, she noticed the expression on the small boy's face and accepted him all in. Anne did not want anything to do with such people or such work, thus she was furious at Grayan. Like Grayan, she was aware of the ramifications of her past deeds, and the two of them truly decided to make a positive change. However, Grayan had battled for her independence and ensured that her poisonous and violent ex-partner left her, so Anne realized she owed him a great deal. After Anne sutured the incision, Horse's life was preserved. Grayan saw that a guy had entered the property after Horse had assumed he could return to his home. That man was employed by Anton, and it was his responsibility to complete the task assigned to him. The fact that Anton's men were unable to kill Horse infuriated him, and he vowed to hold them accountable for their botched effort. Anne was requested to take this man inside after he brandished a pistol on her. After defeating the guy, Grayan and Anne bound him and brought him to Horse's house. Grayan was informed by Anne that she would never want to see his face again. Anne did not make a mistake. She took them in because she knew Grayan needed assistance, but she also knew that if she made even one mistake, everything she had worked so hard to build would fall apart. She didn't want to ruin anything because starting over again required a lot of work. When Grayan returned home at the conclusion of Parish episode 3, he saw Anton was already seated. Things for Grayan and his family didn't seem good at all as the episode concluded on a cliffhanger. We learned in the mid-credit sequences that Anton had advised Grayan to murder Horse in order to preserve his family. Grayan would have to accept Anton's words now, without a doubt. Grayan had dug his own grave because he had no other option. He understood that life should have stayed that way since he had left it a long time ago. I think that Grayan will now consent to work for Horse and find a way out of this predicament. Everything was on the line, and Grayan would have to proceed extremely carefully at every turn. It seems that his family didn't know much about his background, so Grayan would also need to explain things to them. It would be intriguing to observe how Grayan responds to the circumstance and whether he is successful in saving his family.